please, it's almost 3. I am in touch with our second speaker, Madam Ajayi, so that she can join. Let me add her before we open the platform up. So I will just give her another call. I've called her like twice. She says she will join, but I've not seen her name here because the past experience we've had, the platform gets filled up in minutes such that the speaker will not be able to join. So I am trying to avoid that. Just a few more minutes. Let me call her again that I've not seen her. Thank you. It's not even been. Okay, she's here. Okay. Hello? Yes, I just admitted you. It's okay. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. We are most grateful. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Our dear facilitators, good afternoon and welcome. I'm opening the platform for all participants to join so that we commence in earnest. Yeah. Okay, we are welcome to the October edition of the Medical and Health webinar, Medical Law webinar of the Medical and Health Law Committee of Nigerian Bar Association, in a bid to increase awareness on medical legal issues, particularly having noticed that not too many lawyers are grounded in this area of law practice. The committee decided to be holding monthly webinars to build capacity along this line. For this year, barring February and March, we have consistently held webinars every month. We had January, we discussed issues around surrogacy, noting particularly that at the moment there is no regulatory framework on surrogacy in Nigeria. And why we did that webinar was because of the bill, the surrogacy bill that was in circulation. So we did that webinar so that we could harvest opinion, put up a memorandum to also submit when the bill gets to public hearing. That was the purpose. In April, we discussed emergency medical treatment and the law, the provision of Section 20 of the National Health Act. Then in May, we discussed mental health with particular focus on the mental health of lawyers. In June, we discussed the use of alternative dispute resolution in resolving doctor-patient disputes. In July, we looked at organ donation, organ trafficking, and organ harvesting, a legal and medical perspective. In August, we looked at strengthening Nigeria's healthcare policy, the role of Nigerian lawyers. In September, to commemorate the World Patient Safety Day, which holds on 19th of September every year since 2019, or effectively from 2020, the committee has been participating actively. In previous years, we usually do rallies, go around, engage the community, do sensitization and awareness campaign. But this year, we decided to do a webinar on understanding the rights of patients. That was what we did last month, September. Then this October, we are discussing a topical issue bordering on DNA and autopsy. So better captured as forensic medical investigation. Everyone on this platform at the moment must have heard or read stories about DNA, paternity fraud. We hear it every day. We also have been in situations or heard stories where someone dies, the hospital is accused either rightly or wrongly. Village people are accused either rightly or wrongly. In fact, there is one trending, the cultural practice of a widow who is still mourning her husband is made to drink the water with which the dead body was bathed, the water they used in bathing the dead body, to prove her innocence, that she wasn't the one responsible for her husband's death. Whereas an autopsy examination could have just solved that problem to know the cause of death. So it is on account of that and many other medical legal issues that are bothering our society that we decided to choose this topic today to discuss forensic medical examination, looking at autopsy and what's it called? DNA, a legal and a medical perspective. As usual, we have gone to seek for the best hands that we could get on the subject matter. We have in our midst this afternoon a renowned professor of surgery who incidentally is also a lawyer. So by the time his citation is read out, you will understand his weight and capacity a little. Then we also have another expert, Madam Ajayi, who is our colleague and also on the bench and is an expert in forensic investigation as it relates to autopsy and coroner inquest. That's another area of practice that a lot of lawyers are not even interested in, talk more of knowing what to do when such briefs come their way. So this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, tell your friends who are here to join us that the webinar has kickstarted. I'm aware that we have a limited capacity here. Very soon will be 100, but tell your friends. The Zoom link will also be sent out. Just tell your friends to type in Nba-Garki branch channel on Zoom. There we join the webinar from the Zoom angle. Thank you very much. At this juncture, I will be handing over to the moderator and the person of Hannah Omaru Esquire, who is the treasurer of our committee. Thank you.
All right.
Madam,
Good
afternoon. Over to
afternoon.
you, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, learned professor. Good afternoon to our dear speakers and everyone. I don't know if I'm audible, please. Can anyone hear me?
Yes,
please?
we can hear you. We can hear you.
My video is not producing. I wouldn't know why. Can anyone see me?
I'm seeing your face.
Okay.
Can see you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone, once again. Good afternoon, Professor, learned professor, and I appreciate the opportunity given to me to moderate on the session this afternoon. Many thanks to the branch chairman, many thanks to the committee chairman and all my committee members. It's good to be here again. Thank you very much. I'm particularly excited about this topic, given the fact that there's been a lot of arguments online, offline, regarding the topic of DNA, forensic investigation when it comes to autopsy. So I'm particularly excited and I'm really looking forward to, tap from the wealth of experience of our speakers today. So let me dive right into introducing our learned prof here. And this is a citation for Professor Clement Odige Iponoba Osime. Apologies, sir, if I didn't pronounce that correctly.
That's okay.
All right, sir. All right, sir. Professor Clement Odige Iponoba Osime was born at Irua to the family of Obo Blessing Osime, now late, and Dickness Agnes Osime. He had his primary education at Ikiewenian Primary School, Opoji in Esan, Central Local Government, Edo State. His secondary education was at the famous Annunciation Catholic College, Irua, also in Esan Central Local Government area, where he graduated with a grade 1 in 1982. Professor Simi had difficulties in securing admission to read medicine, his dream course at the University of Benin. He eventually gained admission to read quantity surveying at Federal Polytechnic, Auchi, and graduated with distinction as the best graduating student in 1985. He was offered automatic employment at a private firm as a quantity surveyor. Even with this feat, he maintained the burning desire to become a medical doctor. The same day, he collected the employment letter from the office in Benin. The heavens smiled on him as he met admission letter to Uniben waiting for him at home. He graduated from the University of Benin with MBBS in 1991 and had his internship at the University of Benin Teaching Hospital in 1992. He had the mandatory NYC program at the Sokoto Central Prison in 1993. Thereafter, he came for his residency training in general surgery at the University of Benin Teaching Hospital in 1994. He obtained a master's degree in immunology and immunochemistry from Uniben and the fellowship of the Medical College in Surgery of the National Postgraduate Medical College, both in 1999. Professor Sime worked as a general surgeon at the Irua Specialist Teaching Hospital between April 2000 and December 2001. While training as a resident surgeon, he developed interest in ethical and legal aspect of medicine, and this interest culminated in his obtaining the LLB degree from the University of Benin in 2006, and was the best graduating student in the part-time program. He was called to the bar on November 16, 2007. He later obtained diploma and fellowship in minimal access surgery and fellowship of the Western African College of Surgeons. He is a notary public. Professor joined the services of the University of Benin in January 2002 as lecturer 1 and rose quickly through the ranks to become a professor of general surgery and Surgical Oncology in 2011. He teaches courses in general surgery with special interest in breast and colorectal surgery. And he also gives lectures on ethical and legal aspects of medical practice. Professor Clement Odigie Osime has attended several conferences, both locally and internationally, where he participated actively. He has over 65 publications in highly reputable journals. Professor Osime is a member of several professional bodies, some of which include Nigerian Medical Association, Nigerian Bar Association, Canadian Society of General Surgeons, American College of Surgeons, Nigerian Surgical Research Society, Society of American Gastrointestinal and Endoscopic Surgeons, American Society of Clinical Oncologists, European Society of Medical Oncology, International College of Surgeons, World Association of Laparoscopic Surgeons, American Association of Cancer Researchers, etc. Professor Sime is an external examiner to several institutions, including West African College of Surgeons, National Postgraduate Medical College of Nigeria, Hamadu Bello University, Zaria, University of Port Harcourt, Ambrose Ali University, Ekuma, Delta State University, Ogara, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Anambra State, Niger Delta University, Bayelsa State University, Niger Delta University, Bayelsa State, Olabisi Onabanjo University, Ogun State, Igbinedion University, Okada, Bowen University, Iwo, Osun State, University of Lagos, Lagos State. Professor Sime is the executive director of a non-governmental organization, Total Healthcare Breast Cancer Advocacy Center, and he has involved in giving public lectures on health-related issues through electronic media for several years. He has served in several committees, both in the university and the teaching hospital. He held the office of Deputy Chairman, Medical Advisory Committee, Clinical Services in UBTH from 2014 to 2016. He is also a past head of Department of Surgery. He is a multiple award-winning. Some of his awards include the following. 1, Best Graduating Student at the OND Program in Quantity Surveying, Auchi Polytechnic in 1985. Best Graduating Student, LLB Part-Time Program, University of Benin in 2006. National Merit Award presented by National Association of Dental Students in 2009. Award of Excellence presented by the Graduating Medical and Dental class in 2012. Award of Excellence presented by the Association of Resident Doctors, UBTH, in recognition of outstanding impact in residency training in 2013. Best Lecturer in Surgery, an award presented by University of Benin Medical Student Association 2014. Award of Excellence for Brilliance Performance as Guest Lecturer in Medical Legal Issues in Surgical Practice, presented by National Association of Oral and Maxillofacial Surgeons in 2014. Award of Excellence presented by the graduating class, Medical and Dental Students in 2014. Award of Honor in recognition of outstanding contributions to the service of God and humanity, presented by Christ Ambassador Student Outreach, AAU, Chapter 2015. Award for exemplary service to University of Benin Teaching Hospital in June 2017. He gave his inaugural lecture in 2015, and because of his love for ethical and legal aspect of medical practice, his topic was medicine, law, and ethics. Is there a meeting point? The role of the surgeon. Professor Sime is happily married to Mrs. Evarista Usime, a professor in Uniben, and they are blessed with 2 lovely children. He is a devout Christian and worships at Assemblies of God Church, Bo, in Edo State, Benin City. So with a very good and loud welcome, we welcome our dear professor to share his wealth of experience on this very important topic this afternoon. You're very welcome, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I must appreciate the organizers of this program for giving me the opportunity to share my experience in this area. I must appreciate Ebenezer. We've not really seen face to face, but somehow I got to know him through a senior colleague, Professor Chidozie, As is there, we've been interacting. I've actually joined one of your programs, if you recall. I've actually joined one of your programs. And it's been an exciting moment with him each time we discuss. It's quite important for us to talk about issue of medicine and law, as it were. It's something very dear to my heart, like you said at the beginning, and I will be sharing my experience, and maybe at the end, we can also have a period to interact and share ideas together. So, hold on a minute.
Oh, Prof is muted. I think you might have to. Prof, you're muted, sir.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Is it okay now?
Yes. Yes, it is.
All right. You are seeing my slide?
Yes, Prof.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Fine. Okay, fine. Okay. So this outline we shall be using. Let me ask quickly, how many minutes am I giving so I don't overshoot?
Okay, you have 40 minutes. Sir.
40 minutes, sir. Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. Okay. Okay. By way of introduction, forensic medical investigation in Nigeria, including DNA and autopsy, is used to identify. Just 1 minute. 1 minute. Okay, great. Used to identify unknown diseased individuals and aid criminal investigations. However, there are challenges with the use of this tool, ranging from lack of infrastructure, lack of legislative framework, and dedicated laws. Autopsies and DNA analysis are crucial for both identifying victims through comparison with ante-mortem and before death data for family members and for forensic purposes in criminal cases to link suspects to crime scenes. Of course, it involves collection and analysis of medical evidence, what will be called samples, to produce objective information that can be used in the legal system. All right. Now, a forensic medical investigation involves a doctor applying his medical knowledge to legal matters, often examining individuals that may have been injured or who have died, as the case may be, from unnatural causes, such as violence, suicide, or poisoning. The process includes post-mortem examination or autopsies and may also include the use of DNA to determine the cause of death and gather and interpret evidence and apply the findings to law enforcement investigations to establish facts, identify suspects or victims. Thus, it can also be used to establish paternity, like Ebenezer was saying just now, to establish paternity and, of course, reconstruct event. The history of forensic science, that is, applied scientific principles to legal questions, is long and intriguing. What we can remember quickly for those that read history is what happened about 444 BC, followed the assassination of Julius Caesar. At that time, the artistic physician Antistius proclaimed that yes, indeed, there were 23 wounds found on the body of Julius Caesar. However, only one was indeed fatal, others weren't fatal. And by the 5th century, Germanic and Slavic societies were believed to be the first to put down in statute that medical experts should be employed to determine the cause of death. And by 1247, the first textbook on forensic medicine was published in China, which, among other things, documented the procedures to be followed when investigating a suspicious death. Of course, in medieval England, pressure from the church halted the practice of hanging women thought to be pregnant. That is to say, if a woman was involved in a crime, if she was qualified to actually go for hanging, but once she can prove she was pregnant, she could actually plead a big tummy as a defense not to be hung. So that again was all right. then we might need to have some definitions to lay background for the discussion in detail. Forensic pathology simply means the study of injuries or diseases to determine the cause of death. Who is a medical examiner? Medical examiner is someone that works for the legal system to determine cause of death in legal cases. They conduct autopsies to determine not only the ultimate cause of death, but also the manner and the mode of death. We're going to see that in a bit. Coroner is an elected officer and does not necessarily have to be a medical doctor. They oversee investigations, but oftentimes they will need to rely on information given to them by the forensic pathologist to be able to arrive at their own decision. So when you're looking at the forensic causes of death, you look at the mode of death and what they call cause and the manner of death. Under the cause of death, we can say, was it gunshot injuries? Was it blunt trauma? Was it heart attack? Was it decapitation? Was it fire accident? The manner of death, we now say, was it natural? Was it accidental? Was it suicidal, homicidal? Or at times maybe undetermined? They are what we call the forensic science laboratory. That will come to play in this discussion. A forensic science laboratory, which is sometimes called crime lab, is expected to assist investigators in the following ways. Number one, they help to establish an element of the crime. Number two, they link the crime scene to the victim or criminal or defendant, as case may be. Number three, corroborate or disprove an alibi or a confession. Number four, induce an admission or a confession. Number five, may exonerate the innocent or confirm the guilt of the accused. And they help to provide expert testimony in court. When you need an expert witness, they may help to do that. Now, let's look at forensic pathologist. This training takes a number of years. You have to have your first degree and you now go for specialization. There are some qualities of a good pathologist. You're usually very resilient because you need to be strong. It takes a very strong stomach to go into morbid anatomy or anatomic pathology. It can be gruesome. For example, when you have to open somebody's chest, open the brain, open the abdomen, looking for tissues to send to the lab. It can be smelling of formalin. Some bodies may be decaying. You may have seen when some bodies are exhumed, that the pathologist will do that. Examine the exhumed body with the odor and all that. It can really be disgusting, the job. A pathologist that knows what he's doing must be confident to defend his conclusions, even in the face of opposition from either lawyers, the media, and even the victim's family. They may want to pressurize him to say what he didn't see, and that shouldn't be encouraged. In cases of death, sorry, this is my sister, what is happening? All right. In cases of death caused by a weapon, for example, the forensic pathologist, by examining the wound, just looking at the wound, is able to most precisely tell us about the type of weapon that may have been used, as well as the contextual information. And in a death by a gunshot, for example, it can also determine with some reasonable accuracy the range and angle of fire of that gun. Forensic medicine is a major factor in the identification of victims of disaster, such as landslide or plane crashes. In the course of death determinations, forensic pathologists can also significantly affect the outcome of trials dealing with insurance and inheritance. Then we quickly talk about coroner's law in Nigeria. Across Nigeria, particularly in Lagos State, there is a coroner law which is the legal framework, even though it's not quite functional in some areas, set up to investigate the circumstances around a suspicious death by conducting a coroner's inquest, which is simply a fact-finding mission. We need to know that simply a fact-finding mission. The coroner strictly doesn't really apportion blame. It doesn't speak on legal issues. It's a fact-finding mission. An inquest is held mandatorily under the law when there is a reasonable cause to believe that the cause of a death is unknown, the cause is sudden, unnatural, appears suspicious due to various issues. And an inquest is commenced when certain steps have been taken. When there has been a report of death by a relevant agency, when inquest is ordered by the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice of a state, or when any aggrieved person or who identifies as an interested party writes to the chief coroner requesting an inquest. That simply tells us those that can, request for inquest to be heard. The coroner is expected to do all that is necessary within the law to determine the cause of death by obtaining a medical report on the cause and manner of death as stated in the death certificate, which is provided by the chief medical examiner, who is ordered to perform a post-mortem examination. You see some patients at times, they say, I need death certificate. Now you try to explain to them, the cause of death of this relation is not clear. Sudden death. The way she died, she shouldn't have died. We didn't expect her to die. We are not suspecting a foul play. They say, no, we don't want a post-mortem. That can be a challenge at times. They insist we don't want a post-mortem. Maybe at the end we can get contributions where they say we don't want a post-mortem. What do you do in the circumstance? They tell you we don't want to go to court. We don't want it to mutilate our brother's body. What do you do? Now, there are certain facts that must be established by the forensic exam. Number one, has a crime actually been committed at all? Or is it just, a crime war where there's none? Number two, when and how was the crime committed? When you establish a crime has been committed? Number three, was the fire accidental or was it started maliciously? Was the gun, a knife, or a blunt object used to commit the murder? At what time did the victim die? Forensic pathology will give answer to that. Was the shooting accidental or suicidal or homicidal? What type of tool did the burglar use to break into the house or the safe? Was the fire started with a stick of match or was kerosene or petrol used in the process? Was the voice recorded on the tape of that of the kidnapper or the terrorist? Was the blood found at the scene of crime or that of a human being or animal blood? If it is human, is it menstrual blood? It can be happy. It's possible. The woman was menstruating when the robber struck and he left the house. Some blood may have, trickled down on the floor. If it is animal, what type of animal? Is it that of a cow, goat, dog, cat, chicken, and etc.? That will be established. Was the glass on the door or window broken from outside or from within? It will help to determine whether the suspect broke in or broke out. That's important. Establish the identity of the suspected criminal. Then lastly, it's very useful for DNA now to determine if Mr. A or Mr. B is actually the father of baby C or baby D when there is paternity dispute. Now, we're going to talk about postmortem autopsy. Autopsy can be referred to using different synonyms. Postmortem examination, abduction, necropsy, autopsia, cadaverol. These are just different words that can be used to describe autopsy. It is a surgical procedure that consists of a thorough examination. It doesn't mean the person doing it is a surgeon, but it's just a surgical procedure. A thorough examination of a corpse by dissection. Dissection means to open up every bit of that body to determine the cause, the mode, and the manner of death. Or the exam may be performed to evaluate any disease or injury. We heard of the Ebola and all that. Somebody dies, there's a fever. We're not sure why this person died. You have a Lassa fever and all that. We want to do an autopsy to see. We may not even be really that there's a foul play. You just want to know. This is a strange disease. Let's get some tissues we can use that may prevent further occurrence of such disease in that community. That will present for research or for educational purposes. So autopsy may not just be, families in dispute, who kill our relation and all that, or this is a criminal. No, maybe for disease or injury and all that. So it can be used for research and educational purposes. The term necropsy is generally used for non-human animals. Autopsies are usually performed by a specialized medical doctor called the anatomic pathologist. What is the procedure? Before an autopsy is done, you rely on what you determine a conditional evidence. You have what you call the lividity, rigor mortis, the odors, the insect position, and clothing. And you talk about the pattern evidence. Did you see bite marks? The pathologist see imprints, impression, weapon marks, insertions, injuries, wounds, etc. There are biological evidence like grasses, leaves, wood, plants on the body, pollen, flower, insects, worm, etc. You talk of chemical evidence, there may be cosmetics, firearms, vehicle-related chemicals on the body, drugs, alcohol, poisons, ink, oil, cleaning fluids, soil, glass, etc. Then we may have physiologic evidence like blood, semen, issues of rape and all that, urine, fecal materials, tears, milk, bile, tissues, bone, hair, etc. Those may serve as evidence that will be gathered. What is rigor mortis? Rigor mortis usually occurs after 4 hours. Simply means the body becomes stiff. This is important because of decreased oxygen in muscle cells. It starts in the eyelids and smaller muscles of the jaw. Then it progresses to the neck and then after the rest of the body. Now, the speed of progression can be increased when the external temperature is high or is decreased when the temperature is low. Then it sets in more slowly in overweight patients, sets off very quickly when there has been a violent struggle, because in the process, energy is used up when they are struggling. The pathologists will need other information. For example, we say on the average, it starts about 4 hours. If you are seeing it happening, like 3 hours. So you want to see, could that have actually happened because of very violent struggle between the assailant and the victim. Completed in 12 hours usually after death and lasts for about 36 hours and thereafter return to normal non-rigid state. They want to call livor mortis. Livor mortis simply is discoloration of the skin caused by gravity-induced stagnation. That is gravity. When we are studying, for example, the flow of blood reduces, and so there's settling of red blood cells in the small blood vessels. So in the process, there will be discoloration. The skin can look dark when you look at the dead body. It may also be referred to as lividity. Usually occur within 6 to 8 hours after death. Occurs in part of the body closest to the ground faster because it says effect of gravity. Now, we mentioned autopsy a while ago. Let's speak a little more about it. What are the details about what is done exactly during autopsy? The pathology will determine the weight of the dead body, the height, and other physical features, and those things are documented. The body is photographed, X-rays may be taken, examined with alternate light source, black light, for stains that may be there. Distinguishing characteristics are noted like tattoos, scars, birthmarks. Clips, fingernails, and toenails for further analysis are also done. If it's a rape case, swab will be taken of oral, because some people do oral sex, we force the girl for oral sex and all that. So it's taken from the oral, from the mouth, from the anus, and from the vagina. Even though our definition of rape, I know in some areas it's been modified. That is not only penetration of the vagina by the male penis. Oral sex really in some jurisdiction is also defined as rape if it's without consent, that is. So swabs can be taken from those areas. Fingerprints and palm prints are also obtained. A generous wide incision from like neck, where you have the collarbone down to the abdomen is made. You may need to use a saw to break the collarbone and the ribs so you can assess the chest. Remember, I said it's a very gruesome exercise. Assess the chest and also assess the abdomen to see the organs. Internal organs are all removed one by one, and they are weighed. You weigh the liver, you weigh the kidney, you weigh the spleen, you weigh the intestine, everything is weighed. Blood and tissue samples are taken from each organ. It may be necessary to peel the skull, the scalp backwards, and actually open the skull in some cases. Now, the second leg of the lecture talks about use of DNA in forensic examination. DNA profiling is a forensic technique in criminal investigations that compares criminal suspects' profiles to DNA evidence so as to assess the likelihood of their involvement in the crime. We have said somebody had just died, a postmortem has been done, oh, this person was shot, was poisoned, as the case may be. And there are pieces of things that may have been gathered. Maybe a piece of cloth was left behind, an instrument was left behind, which you can pick up and analyze and get some DNA evidence. You want to link that person to the crime that had earlier occurred and led to the death of that person. So likely of their involvement in the crime. It's also used in paternity testing. That is very common now. You hear of paternity testing. For example, if somebody was going to go abroad with some children, it is some embassies will insist before they issue visa to those kids, there has to be evidence that those kids belong to you. That you are not taking them. Perhaps if that was done with a Coronado's case, maybe we will not be where he is today. So some embassies insist that you must do a DNA testing if you are taking your kids along, particularly if they are minors, to be sure that they are your children. Modern DNA profiling methods are strongly supported by robust scientific research data and continuous development of quality standards. These have ensured that the DNA evidence provided is accurate and results are most often highly reliable. You are going to see that there was a time in the US when the results were not very reliable. The result could be corrupted. And so in such cases, they were actually queried and they were not used in some cases. DNA analysis refers to examining the depth of the ribonucleic acid, or what we call the genetic blueprint, that exists in almost every cell in the human body. It's used in forensic pathology to identify individuals from biological evidence like blood, semen, hair found at a crime scene, or a body. Forensic analysis creates a DNA profile and compare it to a suspect's profile or upload it to a database to link or exclude individuals from a crime, what we call the CODIS, which can prove guilt, establish innocence, identify victims, and aid in mass disaster investigations. What may be used? Flakes of skin can be used, drops of blood, hair, saliva, they all contain DNA that can be used to identify individuals. Some cells may be left behind without even knowing. That's why some people they will think that they were smart. They remove everything, they think there is no trace. From opening the knob of the door, you can get some evidence in very high-tech societies. The study of forensics, commonly used by police departments and prosecutors around the world, frequently relies upon these small bits of shared DNA to link criminals to the crimes they commit. The analysis of DNA for human identification purposes have become an integral tool to identify victims of atrocities, unidentified descendants. You could hear some people in the US trying to trace their origin. They can say, oh, I discovered from Nigeria. Can be useful in mass disaster victims to identify them, like plane crash, landslide, and all that, and individuals involved in police investigations. A bit of historical perspective. The first case where DNA was actually used happened in our neighboring country here, Ghana. It was an immigration dispute where a family from Ghana had immigrated to UK and became citizens. After some time, one of the sons went back to Ghana and was stopped from returning to UK because he had a forged passport. The family's lawyer contacted Professor Jeffries and asked whether he could confirm that the boy was in fact the mother's son and not her nephew. She had several sisters in Ghana. The situation was complicated by the absence of the father. Samples of DNA were then taken from the mother, from the son whose identity was now in dispute, and from the mother's 3 undisputed children. Had other children, 3 other children. The patterns confirmed the relationship between the mother and the son in question. Moreover, the testing confirmed that all 4 children had the same father. This immigration case opened the vista for using DNA fingerprinting in forensic cases and for identity determination. There have been advances also. There's a similar case that happened. Now, with the case of Pitchfork, some of you familiar with it, was a local bakery employee. He had coerced his co-worker, Kelly, to stand in for him when providing a blood sample. Kelly then used a forged passport to impersonate Pitchfork. Another co-worker reported the deception to the police. You can see they were all working in the same place. Pitchfork was then arrested, and his blood was sent to Jeffrey's lab for processing and profile development. Pitchfork's profile matched that DNA left behind by the murderer, which confirmed Pitchfork's presence at both crime scenes. He then pleaded guilty to both murders. So you can imagine if it didn't add up, it would have been difficult because he had been able to convince his co-worker to impersonate him and all that. Imperial Chemical Industries was the first to introduce ever commercially available kit to the world, which is available in most countries. The admissibility of DNA evidence in court was disputed, which I said, in the US in the 1980s. Then it was still being refined and early 90s. But these has since become more universally accepted now due to improved techniques. You have to do quality assurance to be sure that what you are doing is actually, it meets international best practice and standards. Now, in the USA, you have what we call the DNA Identification Act of 94, which authorized the Federal Bureau of Investigation to expand a pilot project into a national DNA database, what we call the CODIS, as a tool for solving violent crimes. CODIS combines DNA analysis computer technology to enable crime lab at the local, state, and national level to exchange and compare DNA profiles electronically. So if you are in a different state, you committed crime in state A, go to state B, they can get this using DNA and computer-generated tools. They can link all those DNA even though you have left the state. The database comprises two indices, the forensic index, which contains DNA profiles from crime scene evidence, and the offender index. They are things that are stored. We contain profiles from those convicted of felony, sex offenses, and other violent crimes. It may have happened, and you can look at it like a database. You see whether it matches when you use the computer. You can narrow it down. This DNA matches the database. So the crime that was committed some 3 years ago may have been done by this same person that was arrested now in a new city. Today, DNA identity testing is widely used in the field of forensics and again, paternal identification. Other clinical applications are used upon the methods developed for forensic testing. They include assessment of donor. That's for blood. Now we want to donate blood for grafting and all that. That may not really be a matter that will go to court. We want to do grafting, like blood donation for blood grafting. If you want to do DNA to see the matching, okay, it's more like transplantation. When you're also doing organ transplant, like kidney transplant, it's part of the thing you can do to see the DNA if it matches before you can do organ transplant and all that. It's quite important. When it matches, then you can say, go ahead. There will be organ rejection. Other uses may include confirming diagnosis. This happens in women. This is a kind of some kind of cancers. When a woman is pregnant, it's actually a pregnancy that kind of get complicated. You can also use DNA to confirm this diagnosis and resolve issues of specimen identity in cases of mislabeling. But that means you may send specimen to the lab. They are human beings. In the heat of the moment, emergency, they may have mislabeled it. They gave patient A C sample and B sample. There's a mix-up. And the lab scientists will just own up. I'm sorry, we're overwhelmed with work. I'm not too sure. I think I may have labeled this specimen wrongly. With DNA analysis, you can conveniently type those samples and know who's what. Finally, DNA testing can be used to evaluate tumor transmission after transplantation. So it can also be done when you do a transplant and the patient has a tumor. You can also check this tumor, was it in that was transplanted and all that. As technology advances, forensic scientists are able to analyze smaller biologic samples to the minute level of DNA cannot be used. Okay, it can be collected from a victim's skin or bruises where they were handled roughly. Somebody gripped a victim and he ran away when people were coming to rescue. That grip, even though you can scrape that area with very tiny particles, you can analyze DNA now. Low-level DNA sample may be helpful when examining evidence where it will be difficult to retrieve fingerprints. There are instances you can't get fingerprints, such as texture surfaces, smooth surfaces on gun handles or automobile dashboards. So remember, not all jurisdictions have the capacity to process these very tiny bits of DNA that can be used. You know what I was saying? You can see if you look at the blood, this is a hammer that used to hit somebody. There's a little blood stain at the tip of that hammer. That blood stain can be used to determine. Maybe somebody say, oh, I know the person. I saw the person when he was running away. They can arrest the victim. Then, of course, somebody may argue, was that hammer actually used on that victim? So they'll collect the blood of the victim and the blood of the suspect and match it with the blood on this hammer. You can tell, oh, this blood, this hammer belongs to the victim. The biological material that may be used, there are so many that can be used. I'll just run through for want of time. Mask that may be worn by the assailant, hats, gloves, clothing, tools, weapons, sexual assault victim kits, underclothes, beddings, dirty laundry, fingernail scrapings, cups and bottles, cigarettes, toothpicks, toothbrush, etc., facial tissue, hairbrush, eyeglasses, condoms, tape, luggage like suture, the rope that may be used to strangulate somebody, wire, cords, stamps, or envelopes. Anything touched by a victim, for example, can be used. The best evidence occurs when you use DNA more appropriately. The best evidence occurs when a person's DNA is found where it ought not to be. For example, consider a break-in and entry that occur in the residential area. Near the point of first entry, a neat cap was found, which the homeowners confirmed was not their own. Several hairs were recovered from the inside of that cap. One of the hair had a root with tissue attached, and that made it possible for a DNA profile. The DNA was now eventually used to track the perpetrator. Remember, I told you in some cases, like in the US especially, they have like a DNA bank, if you like, where you can store it. You can analyze the computer evidence to match DNA of criminals. Having said this, we must talk about preventing contamination in DNA samples, because this is crucial. You must keep it in a cold environment and away from sunlight, because if it's denatured, it can give you wrong readings. That's very important. Biologic evidence should be air dried, packaged securely in paper, and labeled properly. You must take protective gloves, otherwise may show DNA of the officer. Okay, that's very important. Protective gloves should be changed. Otherwise, the officer who was wrapping it, so that glove, you will find a way to remove it, use an instrument to remove it. Otherwise, may show the DNA of the officer who handled the matter. This can be detected by a validated DNA officer. If there's doubt, you can also get the officer's DNA and see there's a match. In all, note that the judge may throw out a DNA evidence if the biological samples has been contaminated, reason why you must preserve it very properly. Similarly, they can reject DNA evidence if the crime lab or the DNA analyst didn't maintain quality control or use reliable methods, which means any lab that is going to, like we have a lab in Uniben, there's another one in Lagos State DNA lab. There must be repeated quality control regularly, where you check international standards to be sure, because the quality of what you give out is so important. If you give out the wrong information, you know what that means? If somebody is the father of a child and you say it's not the father, that can lead to that man committing suicide. So quality assurance is so key when it comes to DNA labs. What are the processes? There's extraction of DNA, quantification, quantitation, amplification, separation, analysis and interpretation, and quality assurance. Again, quality assurance is coming up again. That can never be overemphasized. Quality assurance is the final phase when you review analysis report to ensure technical accuracy. How do we interpret it? It may be conclusive. That is inclusion. Oh, we have found this person is the one that committed the crime. It may be exclusion. Oh, he wasn't the one. There's no match. It may be conclusive. Neither here or there. You may need to now begin to look for a highly sophisticated lab to dig further. All told, DNA analysis may have to be repeated. There are times, even when it's inconclusive, it doesn't appear. Even the higher labs will look at what you've brought to them. It's still not conclusive. So, you know what? This has to be repeated all over. What is the future? DNA analysis plays an integral role in forensic science and the criminal justice system. It's been hugely instrumental in identifying criminal offenders, exonerating those who have been wrongly convicted, and finding justice for crime victims and their families. What is the situation in Nigeria today? Forensic examination and use of DNA analysis in Nigeria are present situation. In Nigeria, criminal law is archaic, as most states of the Federation have not reviewed their laws inherited from colonial rules. The old law left responsibility of supervising these very important duties in the hands of medical officers who have known, or at best, poor training in this very important field of pathology. Lagos State is the only state, perhaps, and stand to be corrected, that has reviewed the coroner's law in 2007. Ekiti State is also in the process of doing same. The review coroner system in Lagos married the coroner system with the medical examiner's framework. It is a hybrid of the former coroner system, which is British in nature, with the later medical examination system, which is essentially the American system. In this law, the office of the chief medical examiner is saddled to oversee all forensic and hospital autopsy cases. It is headed by a forensic pathologist. That is what it's supposed to be. So enable that corner habit. A man cannot give what he doesn't have. If you are not trained as a pathologist, you really cannot do a proper forensic examination. Forensic examination and DNA analysis constitute a major technique for fighting crime. By way of conclusion, it's even more desirable in Nigeria today. We are beginning to experience a lot of violent crimes in Nigeria. Therefore, we cannot run away from forensic examination and DNA analysis. However, the use of forensic and DNA analysis in Nigeria faces significant challenges, including inadequate infrastructure, insufficient trained personnel. How many pathologists do we have in Nigeria? And the lack of a centralized regional database. I told you in the US, they have a database now, which is actually linked to computer base that you can link different states and see what is happening in real time. And this lack of such facilities in Nigeria hinder its effectiveness in the criminal justice system. While there may be emerging initiatives like the Lagos State DNA and Forensic Center, we also have in Uniben, the overall capacity needs expansion. We need to have, like in every state, at least one or even two. Improve legislation that can back this up, greater public awareness, let people know, so that to fully leverage on DNA technology to help combat crime and ensure justice. Thank you very much for listening. Those are my references.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We cannot thank you enough. Moderator, please. Hello, moderator. Okay, while we wait for the moderator, dear participants, please help me celebrate and appreciate Prof. Let us see your expression of gratitude on the chat box. If what you have listened to, if it had made any impact. I know some of us are hearing what we just heard now for the first time. The part of the essence of these webinars is for those of you who are new. I spoke with a lawyer this afternoon, actually my callmate this afternoon, and I invited her to this webinar. She was hearing about medical law for the first time today. When I spoke with her, it was a minister, I saw what you shared. What is it all about? I had to explain. So we are doing this to at least trigger something, create a hunger, create curiosity in you so that you, like Oliver Twist, want some more. Hello, moderator, are you here now? I know she's having a back-end challenge. It's raining here where I am particularly. So while we wait for her, let me just stand in for a moment and introduce our second speaker so that we continue. We will take the question and answer segments after the second speaker has spoken. Okay, our speaker, Oluwatosin A. Ajayi, holds a bachelor's degree in law from University of Lagos and master's degree in legislative drafting from the Nigerian Institute of Advanced Legal Studies. She was a former chairperson, Research Committee of OLA, Nigeria, former secretary of MBA Ikeja Branch, Continuous Legal Education Committee, former secretary Ikeja Branch Journal Committee. She is an interdisciplinary research advocate. She has written extensively on various subjects, contributing significantly to academic monographs, journal articles, and book chapters. She has written 6 books. Her books include Crime Scene and Forensic Investigation, Simplified Criminal Law in Nigeria, Academic Writing Skill and Core Components, Internet Technologies and Cybersecurity Law in Nigeria, and a recent one being Forensic Law in Nigeria. Some of her books have been recommended, have become recommended texts across Nigerian universities and foreign universities. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed participants, help me welcome our second speaker, the person of Her Lordship or His Lordship, Madam Ajayi. Thank you very much. Your Honor, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Chairman of Medical and Health Committee of Garki MBA branch. Good evening, Professor Osime. Good evening, sir. Thank you for your paper. I really enjoyed it.
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yes, sir. And the distinguished members, senior lawyers and members of Garki branch, and my branch as well, Ikeja branch. I can see my branch members as part of the participants here. I say welcome to everyone. Chairman committee, my name is Oluwatomi Ajayi, not Oluwatosin. I'm Oluwatomi.
Apologize for the mispronunciation, ma. Sincere apology. Thank you.
Right. All right. I think I'll be sharing my screen. Or have you started?
You may proceed. We have whichever you prefer.
Okay, I think I'll be sharing so that I can follow.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'll be speaking on the role of forensic autopsy, the legal perspective. So thank you for the introduction, but this is my abridged profile. So let me just say a bit about myself. My name is Oluwatomi Ajayi, an alumni of the University of Lagos and the Nigerian Institute of Advanced Legal Studies. My strong background is in legal research, and I'm an author of 6 books, which we have just actually told the participants here. So I don't want to go, but I know my latest book is called Forensic Law in Nigeria. I've also written about 38 research papers, which have been published as book chapters, monograph, law journals, and online resources, some of which borders on the intersection of law and forensic science, medical evidence, experimental drugs, missing persons, female genital mutilation, psychiatry, healthy cities, and many more. I've served as chairperson research committee of African Women Lawyers Association, Nigeria chapter, secretary, CLE committee, Ikeja branch, and secretary, Ikeja Bar Journal. Presently, I preside over a customary court in Lagos State. So let's go to the content that I've prepared for the webinar. We're going to be talking about criminal and non-criminal deaths, autopsy, history and types, legal and international framework, ethics in forensic autopsy and role, then limitations and benefits and conclusion. Actually, Prof has touched so much about what I'm going to talk about, but I will still have to say my own. So Prof, thank you. You've actually educated me on some new information that I've had today. I'm really grateful.
Thank you, ma.
I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Okay,
Yes,
so
we can see.
all right. So, okay, so we start with the introduction. So in modern criminal investigation, where death is involved, various investigative techniques are used to unravel the cause of death. We know the traditional, the conventional method of police investigation, some of which include, the person, if there's a suspect involved, the police might need to arrest the person or invite the person or look for other ways that they can say something, maybe like hoping he will confess to the crime. Or sometimes they might decide to observe him or use other surveillance method as well. And by the time he comes into their custody, they can interview him. And if he's suspected to have anything behind, they can actually arrest and prosecute him. So, but most of the times we discover that police investigational steps may not be adequate. So if it's not adequate, where do we resort to? So that means we have to resort to investigation that uses scientific approach to collect and analyze evidence, because rarely you will find a suspect saying, I actually committed this crime. But with science, we can actually use it to apprehend the suspect and charge him to court if there is evidence. So this sort of investigation relies on forensic science and its underlying principle, which states that every contact leaves a trace. This is attributed to Dr. Edmond Lucard and his famous principle that we call Lucard's exchange principle, which says when an individual commits a crime, he will leave a trace of himself at the scene and take away another evidence from the scene. So from that, you see that, yes, it's something that could be traced to him. So that trace evidence is actually forensics. So how do we define forensics then? It is the application of scientific principles to resolve issues in the justice system. It could also be defined as the use of science to solve legal problems or the scientific process for gathering, analyzing, and interpreting evidence to solve a crime or determine facts. This form of evidence can be extracted from many scientific sources, such as DNA, fingerprints, dental analysis, footwear marks, digital sources, autopsy as well. So autopsy, I'm going to be concentrating on autopsy. Autopsy is built on science. It is a scientific method of determining the cause of death. It is a procedure within the field of pathology, which is a branch of medicine, and it plays a vital role in suspected criminal and non-criminal deaths. So what is non-criminal or natural death? So, but before we define non-criminal death, let's just have something at the background. Let's try to see whether there's a religious undertone to it. When you mention death, what is death? So, but then we have to know that there's a concept of neutral acceptance of death, which states that death is a natural part of life. It is beyond our control and it is inevitable. We say the end will come, that God gives life and to him life goes back. So that's the religious undertone. But in the academic sense, we call it the concept of neutral acceptance of death. That's when you say, okay, there's nothing I can do against death. Let me just accept it. So that is that. So from there, we move to natural deaths. Natural deaths are non-criminal death in nature. This could be a death that is justified by law, or a death that can occur from illness, disease, or old age. So if we are saying we are talking about old age, then we have to check the WHO and UN definition of old age or elderly person. And most of the time, UN will say an old person is a person from age 60 and above. So if a person dies probably out of illness or disease, well, we can actually compare with his age. Although we are not saying a 60-year-old person is an old person entirely, but that's the UN definition and the WHO definition of old age. So in natural deaths, a doctor can send the body to the mortuary just to preserve the corpse, but not to do anything more except with the consent of the family, because the body has to be handed to the next of kin for burial. So if it's a natural death, the doctor will readily have to hand over to the next of kin, that's the family. For criminal and unnatural deaths, we just have to accept a fact. And the fact is that not everyone will die a natural death. We don't pray for it, but not everyone will die a natural death. So how can unnatural death come about? Unnatural death is any reportable death. That is death that you can report to the authorities, like the police. Death that is caused by any act of violence or unlawful killing, which are categorized under homicidal, suicidal, accidental, poisoning, or negligence, many like that. Section 14 of the Coroner Systems Law of Lagos State 2015 categorizes it as death that is unknown, sudden, violent, accidental, or death that is caused by negligence by others, self-neglect, medical malpractice, or infant death. Section 215 of the Criminal Law of Lagos State provides that it is unlawful to kill any person unless it is justified by law. So unnatural deaths are untimely deaths. It can be caused by application of blunt weapon, instruments, suicide, drowning, electrocution, poisoning, assassination, suffocation, drugs, or there could be some persons that are beaten to death, or it could also include traffic accidents. Unnatural deaths could also be suspicious or unexplained and undetermined. But for dismantled bodies that are found in shallow graves, there are some bodies that some people will just, okay, if you've murdered the person and you don't want the police to discover, you quickly cover up his body and you go and bury it in a shallow grave. We know that forensic analysis will want to confirm whether the remains is human before the body goes for autopsy to determine the manner of death. So what is autopsy? The word autopsy is derived from the Greek word autopsia, meaning the act of seeing for oneself. Autopsy could be medical legal investigation of death, post-mortem, medical examination of the body after death. Those are synonyms. So autopsy, when you are saying autopsy, you can also say post-mortem. They have the same meaning. You can use it interchangeably. So medical legal investigation is an official inquiry into unnatural deaths, combining medical and legal practices to determine the cause of death. So medical legal, that is science and legal, medical and legal practices to determine the cause of death. You can also define it as the opening of the body cavities and the organs, dissection of a corpse in order to help determine the cause of death or condition that led to the deceased death. Section 51 of the Coroner Systems Law of Lagos State defines autopsy as the examination of both the external and internal organs of the body after death in order to determine the cause of death. So what is the role of autopsy? Number one, to know the exact cause and manner of death, to know the estimation of the time of death for identification purpose, and to ascertain the facts surrounding criminal responsibility of the perpetrator. So when we are saying identification, we are talking about body identification. You can know You can know body, you can detect body identification through scientific and non-scientific methods. The scientific methods could be through DNA, fingerprints, and dental records. But if it's non-scientific, it may be the disease may be identified by visual confirmation. Maybe somebody recognizes him. Maybe he has medical records. He has personal effects and documents to reveal his true
Your
identity.
Honor, sir, we have lost you. We can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
We are
Okay.
hearing you. Mr.
We
Benita.
can
we are
hear you now.
All right, thank you.
I
So
hear
I
you
said
very
the
well.
role of autopsy, to know the exact cause and manner of death, to know the estimation of the time of death for identification purpose, which I just explained, and to ascertain the facts of surrounding criminal responsibility of the perpetrator. So the key fact here is that autopsy plays a part in overall police investigation. It is done in the interest of the criminal justice system. There are petitions will come for autopsy. It can come from the public. And the impact of public outcry on the decision of the court. Petitions can come especially if the deceased is a celebrity, or it could be an influential person. But people are dying every day, but it is not all the time that you hear ordinary people, like that saying, oh, we want autopsy in respect of this person. I'm sure we must know popular people or controversial people that have gone through autopsy. History of autopsy, Prof mentioned it, but I'll add my own. Early autopsy had its origin in ancient Greece, Rome, Italy, Egypt, Vienna, China, and other ancient societies. There have been several documented autopsies in history. Note that this list is not organized in any particular order, so I just actually combine them together. So it's not as if it's one came before the other. So, but Prof mentioned the Antistios, that's the Roman physician and the personal medical doctor to Julius Caesar. We all know Julius Caesar. Yeah. Antistios conducted autopsy on Julius Caesar's body after he was assassinated, and he presented his findings to the public. Then we also have the Greek physician called Galen of Pergamum and Rukitansky of Vienna. Those are early medical doctors who performed autopsies. Then we also have the king of Egypt, Ptolemy I Sota, who allowed medical officials to conduct autopsies on dead bodies of executed criminals for the purpose of education. So he actually restricted his own to criminals that have been condemned to death, but it was for the purpose of education. Then we also have a Greek physician called Erophilos of Chalcedon, who performed autopsies on humans and animals on a regular basis. Then an Arab physician, Ibn Zui, is also called Avensua. He performed dissections and postmortem autopsies. Prof also mentioned this physician and judge. We call him Song Chi. He published a forensic handbook in 1247 titled The Washing Away of Wrongs. And it contained guidelines for performing autopsies. Then finally, Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte of the French Republic, who requested that an autopsy should be performed on him after his death. He also said that the autopsy report should be sent to his son. So those are the earliest history of autopsy. Now, modern case studies. We know that autopsies draw national and worldwide attention, especially when the deceased is a child, celebrity, or an influential person. Naturally, untimely deaths will naturally people want to know the cause of untimely deaths and their manner, the cause, and the time of their death. I'll mention some names here that we've read online, so it's not as if it's new. We've actually read about them. There's a Chief Mrs. Shemites Love, one former special advisor to the Delta State governor. He was, she died, and but people actually said it was her husband that was domestically assaulting her. But when she went through autopsy, the doctors discovered that she was hypertensive and she had a heart disease. Because people were speculating, they said the husband poisoned her, but autopsy was able to exonerate him, although they've still been detained. Then we have Sylvester Oromoni, the 12-year-old student who was said to be tortured to death. He said he was bullied in school by his friends and that he was chemically poisoned. But after autopsy, they discovered it was septicemia, and no, the coroner discovered it was septicemia, alluded the cause of death to septicemia, negligence of his parents and the doctor. Then we have Whitney Adeniran, the 12-year-old student who was electrocuted when she went for inter sports. When autopsy results came out, they said it's asphyxia that caused her death. Then we also have Peju Ugoma, the 41-year-old chef. When she went for fibroid surgery, she died, but the husband said he was not actually satisfied with the conduct of the doctors. So autopsy was performed, and the coroner alluded the cause to medical negligence by the doctors. Then we have the popular Osina Chinwachukwu, the 42-year-old gospel musician who was said to be living with domestic violence. But after the autopsy revealed it was actually lung cancer that killed her, not domestic violence. The husband is still in, I think the husband has been sentenced despite that. Of course, we have the ongoing popular music star, the late popular music star, Paul Mohbad, 27 years old. His body was exhumed for autopsy. Toxicology test was said to be late, was too late. And although they saw something, eventually they said it could be due to drug reaction, but the case is still ongoing, so I won't want to talk more about it. Types of autopsy. We have the forensic autopsy or coroner autopsy. You could call it forensic autopsy, you could also call it coroner autopsy. So this is a part of a legal or criminal investigation. It's a court-sanctioned autopsy because court can mandate autopsies for legal purposes to establish the cause of death in suspicious, sudden, or unexplained circumstances involving a crime or medical procedure. The coroner can order an autopsy without the consent of the deceased next of kin. So in this particular forensic autopsy or coroner autopsy, whether you like it or not, a coroner can order. You can't say, oh, because I don't like it. No, because it's a forensic autopsy. He has the power under the law. He's empowered under the law to actually call for autopsy. And this autopsy is conducted by a forensic pathologist, medical examiner. Then we also have a hospital autopsy. This is conducted after natural death to confirm or understand the cause of death due to illness or other conditions. It is also conducted by the hospital pathologist. We have what is called private autopsy as well. This is a family requested autopsy. Families can contact or commission an independent pathologist to do a second opinion autopsy, because the family may not be satisfied with the first result. So they will quickly call for a second opinion, and that can be done within or outside the hospital environment. We also have complete or partial autopsy. This is complete when the external and internal parts of the body are examined together, while a partial autopsy is an examination or evaluation of a specific area of the body based on the deceased family request. So if it is complete, it entails checking up all the organs, internal, external. But if it is partial, they can just say, the family can just say, please, just help us check the head alone, or just help us check the chest alone. We are continuing with the types of autopsy. Clinical autopsy. This is autopsy performed on a deceased person to determine cause of death, especially in natural deaths not related to criminal deaths. We've said that before. For medical reasons or to gain insight for future medical research. We can also call it non-coronal autopsy for non-criminal purpose, for medical research. For example, some people will conduct autopsy just to know the cause of high risk in maternal deaths or cancer deaths. So they fall under the realm of clinical autopsy. Then we have academic autopsy. This is autopsy performed by students of anatomy for study purpose only. Anatomical examination is defined as the examination by dissection of a dead body or its parts for purposes of teaching or research. So academic autopsy, we know medical students go through it. Prof will know more about that. Then we also have verbal autopsy. This is an autopsy that is used to determine causes of death, especially where you don't have medical certification, where there are no medical certification or records are unavailable. This happened in the northern areas when during the time of COVID lockdown, they didn't have enough resources, enough doctors on ground. So they had to resort to verbal autopsy. What they do is they just use a questionnaire, call a member of the family to ask, a member of the family of the deceased to ask, okay, what is the symptoms that you felt that your deceased brother went through? So they will assemble a questionnaire, and based on the interviews, they will be able to at least assume that this thing probably killed the deceased. So we call it verbal autopsy. Then we also have a vetopsy or virtual forensic autopsy. Vetopsy is a word combining virtual and autopsy. It employs a medical cutting-edge technology to shed light or investigate the cause of death. Vetopsy is non-invasive method that neither harms the body nor tampers with forensic evidence. So this is basically using technology to find out the cause of death. Then let's go to forensic and coronal autopsy. It's still the same, although I just want to emphasize on it since my topic is just based on autopsy. So coronal autopsy or forensic autopsy, whenever you want to, the terminology that you want to use, seeks to conduct inquest. An inquest is to find answers to the cause, manner, time, and mode of death. We actually said it, that the goals, what are the role of autopsy? We said to find answers to the cause, manner, to know the exact time and everything. So the purpose of an inquest is to ascertain who the deceased was, how, when, and where this disease came by his death. And if there are any particulars required, it will be okay for the inquest. Coroner courts are inquisitorial. This means the coroner's role is just to investigate the circumstances of the death and decide what the facts of the case are. Coroner magistrates in Lagos State are empowered in Lagos State to conduct inquests under the law. That is to investigate deaths where the cause of death is unknown, unnatural, or violent. Coroner has temporary legal control of the body while he is carrying out the investigation. Note that autopsies can be ordered without the family's consent if the deaths fall in the categories of unnatural deaths. We've said that before. The coroner does not find anyone guilty. It's just to investigate the deaths and recommend. So when is autopsy relevant? Section 14 of the Coroner Systems Law of 2015 says that it applies to deaths that are unknown, sudden, violent, accidental, negligence by others, self-neglect, medical malpractice, infant death. So let's go to forensic autopsy reports. Forensic autopsy report is a medical legal document that can be used or tendered at a criminal proceeding in a court of law. It is a medical report containing information from the examination of the body, giving detailed summary of the findings and evidence of the internal and external information. The forensic pathologist who conducts the autopsy will write out a report, autopsy findings. Then he also includes his opinion on the cause and manner of death in the autopsy report. We have the Forensic Autopsy Manual for Forensic Pathologists of 2016, which provides that autopsy reports can provide judges with the date and time of the death, allowing them to make better judgments about convictions in criminal cases. Autopsy reports can establish a prima facie case against the perpetrator. So the forensic procedure. When a person dies in a hotel, for instance, you lodge a report to the police. The police will evacuate the body. Then the deceased has to be confirmed dead. His remains will be deposited at the morgue or mortuary for preservation and autopsy to determine the exact cause of death. Body is then handed over by legal authority, that's the coroner or police, to the medical examiner, forensic pathologist in the hospital for autopsy. Usually a government pathologist anyway. That's a medical doctor specialized in determining the causes and manner of death. He carries out an autopsy and comes to the court to testify as an expert witness. The consent of the family is not required so as not to jeopardize the truth. Coroner System Law, Section 7G of the Coroner System Law, Lagos State, provides that the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner is mandated to keep autopsy reports, keep body parts taken from the body of a dead person during the conduct of autopsy, which may be necessary for further study. Then we have Section 68(1) of the Evidence Act 2011, which provides that when the court has to form an opinion upon a point of science, the opinions upon that point of persons specially skilled in such science is admissible. The expert is called as a witness in court. His responsibility is to assist the court to come to a right and just decision. So that is where the pathologist is an expert, or is an expert so called under Section 68(1) of the Evidence Act. Autopsies are carried out in the presence of family members of the deceased or pathologists brought by family members of the deceased. So this usually happens when family members of the deceased don't trust, they may not trust the government pathologist or the pathologist concerned. So they say, oh, let's bring our own pathologist. So, and that will be done in their presence or in the presence of their pathologist. Hospital autopsy at the MDCN level. MDCN is the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria. In medical negligence cases, such as childbirth, if somebody dies during childbirth or body surgery, that can be treated also as a medical legal issue. Usually, family members of deceased can make complaints to the MDCN. MDCN regulates the practice of medicine in Nigeria, and they have code of medical ethics that can apply to such. They are also bound by their rules of professional conduct, that is medical practice. The MDCN can set up an investigating panel, and the medical and dental practitioners disciplinary tribunal. They can provide practice guidelines and sanction those who violate the rules, including those who will conduct post-mortem examination in case they didn't do anything properly. The panel will submit its report to the medical council, who in turn will constitute a committee of doctors to examine if there is a substance in their findings. Then what is the task of the MDCN? It has no power to handle any criminal case though, but it seeks to investigate any underlying health issues, whether the deceased even has any underlying health issues before he died, before the surgery. If there are failures in the care by doctors, MDCN will investigate. They want to know what happened after the hospital admission, what was the deceased diagnosed with, and then before they can give their narrative conclusion. Legal framework. Legal framework. The Coroner System Law of Lagos State, sorry. Legal framework. The first one is the Coronal System Law of Lagos State, 2015, which defines death as the process of determining the cause, mechanism, and manner of death. The law empowers the coroner to investigate certain deaths through an inquest if necessary by autopsy. And the inquest shall hold whenever a coroner is informed that a deceased died, a violent or natural or suspicious death. He wants to know who, when, how, and where. The chief judge can appoint the chief coroner, who must be a high court judge, and the attorney general too can appoint a chief medical examiner. So they can rule on fees to be paid to such medical examiners and forensic consultants for any examination or autopsy. The National Health Act 2014 provides that a postmortem examination of the body of a deceased person may be conducted if such an examination is necessary for determining the cause of death. So we see that the National Health Act of 2014 also talks about autopsy. We also have the Nigeria Correctional Service Act of 2019, which provides that where an inmate dies, his death shall be investigated while an inquest shall be instituted to ascertain the nature and circumstances of the death. So this type of death is called in custody because they are in the custody of the correctional service. So if anything happens to them, the law says that this death shall be investigated while an inquest shall be instituted. Then we also have the Anatomy Act of 2004, which provides that there shall be an anatomical examination of the deceased body after death. An executor or any person having lawful possession of the body of any deceased person can permit the body of the deceased to undergo anatomical examination. Then we also have the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria. They make regulations in the field of autopsy through their rules of professional conduct, which applies generally to doctors. So if it applies generally to doctors, then it can also apply to doctors who carry out autopsy. Then other interventions, we have the Police Act and the Police Code of Conduct. We know that the police, Section 4 of the Police Act provides that the police can prevent, they can investigate and detect crimes. So they are also part of the framework as well. That's why we said autopsy is a part of the overall police investigation in the interest of the criminal justice system. They ensure that any criminal act is investigated so as to bring perpetrators to justice in a fair and professional manner. Then we also have the forensic experts too. They must adhere to the local, if there's a local or national code of the forensic or medical scientific profession, they must follow it to the core. They must follow the scientific procedures and perform their duties and responsibilities as forensic experts. Then we have the international framework, the 1991 Manual on the Effective Prevention and Investigation of Extralegal, Arbitrary, and Summary Executions. We have the Forensic Autopsy Manual of 2016, published by the UN Office of Drugs and Crime. We have the Minnesota Protocol on the Investigation of Potentially Unlawful Death of 2016. What did they say? In summary, they all provide that the investigation, we must conduct for an investigation where it is necessary, and that the duties of a forensic doctor in relation to death investigation is responsibilities of justice towards the relatives of the deceased and more generally to the public, but not to the police of the state. It also provides that investigations shall be thorough, prompt, and conduct impartial investigation of all unlawful and unnatural death. That it shall include an adequate autopsy to determine the cause of death, and the investigation shall distinguish between natural death, accidental death, suicide, and homicide. So we see that even at the international level, there is a provision towards the autopsy. Ethics in ethics. So the first one that I want to talk about is, I read it online as well, the case study that I read that happened in India, where the plaintiff went to court to want the court to pronounce on whether he said he's pleased that he argued that he wants only female doctors to conduct autopsy on female bodies. He also mentioned about the right to dignity, that the right to dignity must be extended to dead bodies, that the rules and guidelines of postmortem of bodies should be framed in such a way that won't disrespect the dead. He also said dead bodies should be kept in a special cover so that they are not exposed to public gaze. And that after completion of autopsy, mortuary staff shall wash the autopsied bodies and wear clothes for them, provided by the government or their families. So those are his contentions. I think he went to court for that, and the court pronounced on it. Although they disagreed with him, they said, no, that all bodies, irrespective of their sex, are autopsied by medical doctors, that you don't have to say female disease, the female disease should only be attended to by female doctors. And the court agreed with him on the right to dignity and that it must extend to the dead body. So the medical code of ethics goes like this. There are some doctors that have been discovered to have uploaded pictures of autopsy on the social media. This is prohibited. Medical code of ethics dictates that they must handle the body with dignity, maintain confidentiality and privacy. They should not distort or tamper with the autopsy report, and ensure that the autopsy is conducted objectively to find the truth about the cause of death. Ethics also involves collecting and preserving evidence properly and restoring the body to a presentable state afterward. Under the Criminal Law 2015 of Lagos State, unlawful possession of a human part is a crime, except one is permitted to hold the body by law. Then we also have the crime of misconduct with regard to corpses. This includes causing indignity, indecent interference with a dead human body, eating a dead body, or the neglect to perform the duty imposed on someone regarding the disposition of a dead body. Limitations. We have culture and religion. We know the impact of culture and religion. Oh, they will say, oh, the dead is gone, let the dead rest. After they've gone, they need peace. Nobody should try to investigate anything concerning them because we can't bring them back to life. So why cut a dead body or exhume a corpse? It's an act of bodily intrusion. I'm just saying what culture and religion we normally want to talk about. Then the belief in reincarnation. They believe that if they cut the body or they do autopsy on the body will not be useful in the next world. Under Jewish law, autopsy is seen as an affront to the honor of the dead. The only exceptions are if there's a suspicion of foul play, or if it could save the life of other living members of the family, then autopsy will be allowed. But if it's not, no, they won't do it. They won't want to participate in autopsy. We also know Muslims believe that human body is sacred, whether dead or alive. But the exception is still that if the autopsy can be conducted if it is for medical and scientific purpose. Another limitation is negative and obscure autopsy. If there is no positive or clear findings in the autopsy, it can make the public distrust. The public won't trust the system. Okay, I wanted to say it can make the public distrust the system. So, like if the majority believe that, oh, A actually killed B, but if B goes through autopsy and it is discovered that nothing happened to B, then people can say, oh, okay, maybe it could be influenced by the doctors, or maybe the doctors are partial, so they won't want to trust the system. Then interference of politics or influential people. There are some people who want to interfere with autopsy. Maybe they want to just say, oh, okay, I want this, I don't want the general thing that people are saying, general cause of death. Maybe if they use their power to just influence the body, it is not common. I mean, then incomprehensive autopsy reports leaving out important details. This has to do with the doctor that conducted the autopsy. If your autopsy report is incomprehensive, that would be a limitation. Also, some think that autopsy is not scientifically accurate. If the cause of death is uncertain, for example, a decomposing or decaying body may not yield much evidence. So many people will say, oh, okay, maybe there's no use trusting this autopsy. Maybe the science is a failed science. Then we also know that the financial implication of autopsy is not that, well, I don't know the price now, I don't know the cost, but I know some people actually say it's costly to do an autopsy. Prof should be able to talk more on that. But we know it's also a limitation, the financial implication of autopsy. Also, bereaved families are not happy with delayed burials. When autopsy is to be conducted, you know, the family members have to be patient, so it can delay burials. Another limitations, yes. Autopsy evidence is medical evidence, whether we like it or not. Since we said it's medical, it's science. But we should remember that the court may still dispense with it. Over time, the courts have held that medical evidence is not necessary, where cause of death is obvious, or it can be inferred, or where medical evidence is not available, where there is conflicting evidence which can bring two possible interpretations, then the court can dispense with medical evidence or autopsy evidence. If there's a case like that before a court of law, and the court feels that what killed this man is this, the court is convinced. The court won't go all the way for, they won't say, okay, that means you have to go and do autopsy by force. No, they can dispense with it because it falls under circumstantial evidence. If the death falls under circumstantial evidence. So let's look at Alliance States, where the appellant wanted the medical doctor's report, that's the autopsy report, to specify the exact instrument that was used. The court held that what was relevant is the fact that the instrument was heavy enough. If it's heavy, you don't have to know. The court doesn't want to know whether it is a knife or whether it is a cutlass. What the court wants to know is whether the instrument was heavy and lethal. In Ben and State as well. Then in State and Eze, the prosecution did not tender any autopsy report, yet it did not affect the case. The prosecution even proved their case beyond reasonable doubt. It didn't tender any autopsy report, but it did not affect their case. So under Section 149 of the Evidence Act of 2011, it provides that the court can admit circumstantial evidence on proof of cause of death. So far, prosecution can still prove its case beyond reasonable doubt and establish a link to the perpetrator and the crime. So we can see that autopsy evidence is, the report is important, but it is not mandatory that the court will have to accept it. The court can still go ahead and pronounce on the cause of death, especially where they think is obvious, or they can infer the cause of death. Or even where medical evidence is not available, they can go right ahead and convict. Benefits of autopsy. Benefits that we can find in autopsy. Autopsy mostly play a positive role. Corpses contain a body of evidence. Autopsy is not a weak evidence. So gone are the days when people will say only that dead men tell no tales. It's all right. Dead people can now speak through forensic autopsy. Autopsy has significant implications for criminal investigation. It can detect the issues in medical malpractice, negligence, and misdiagnosis. It helps to determine the truth about someone's death. It corrects false narratives. Without autopsy, people are likely to push false narratives. Autopsy helps with the prosecution of criminal cases. It can link the perpetrator to an investigation. It links the perpetrator to the victim's death and supports law enforcement and judicial process. Every contact leaves its trace. It revolves around evidence collection, documentation standards, and courtroom testimony procedures. Through DNA extracts from an exhumed body, autopsy settles inheritance, heirship, and insurance issues. Reliance on autopsy will likely help your case. It brings long-awaited answers to the family and the society. False evidence can collapse with autopsy review. Court can order a new trial, conviction can be overturned. Autopsy can expose faulty or uncertain signs. So if the science is not that strong enough, autopsy can actually expose it because it can interrogate, it can bring out interrogating questions as, is the science valid? Is it a legitimate diagnosis? Especially in negligence cases. So for in-custody deaths, informing next of kin, checks potential human rights violations, holding authorities accountable, and implement measures to prevent future deaths. So we talked about in-custody deaths, people that they died in police custody or inmates that died in prisons. So conducting autopsy on them can check potential human rights violation because you can hold the authorities there accountable, and it helps to check future deaths. So they will sit up after an autopsy. Then autopsy reports can offer closure. It's essential to healing and accountability. So after the, you know that after the autopsy was done on Sylvester or Romani and Adeniran, there was closure. We didn't hear much about them online again. So autopsy can actually say, okay, this is what killed this disease. So family members will just say, okay, well, we just have to accept. So that is closure. So the key takeaways, recommendation, conclusion from what I've discussed so far. And that is one, there are legal and ethical issues surrounding autopsy. It operates from the perspective of both medical and legal dimension. Autopsies are now a mainstay in criminal investigations to prove innocence or guilt. Autopsy could be the best available evidence where evidence is insufficient and can sustain a conviction where further evidence is required. Autopsy plays not only a vital role in pathology education, but also in legal education. Forensic autopsy seeks to reveal the truth behind the death of an individual. The findings play a critical role in criminal investigation and prosecution. Autopsy is telling us that every life matters and every death matters. Every society and family deserves an answer. This is central to the pursuit of justice. Building safer communities advances justice. Bringing closure is a testament to modern science. Autopsy identifies the perpetrator. After the perpetrator is identified, arrest is made, prosecution and conviction follows. Then autopsy is telling us that we should build, or generally forensic science, forensic evidence, forensic intervention is telling us that we should try to build the legal and scientific capacity towards the issue of solving crime. We lawyers should upgrade our skills, you know. So let's just don't leave it for scientists alone and say, no, this is their jurisdiction or it belongs to them, that we lawyers, we only need to know the legal. Yes, we need to know the legal aspect, but what about the scientific aspect as well? Although we are not experts, but if we know the rudiments, we'll be able to follow all these things. Look at what Professor Sime said, the scientific aspect. I think it dwelt more on the science, and I was able to follow it. So let's lawyers upgrade their skills. And DNA forensic autopsy should form part of the curriculum of criminal law. Forensic science should form part of criminal law and even medical law. So these are my references. These are my books. And I say thank you to all for listening. Hello.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Your Honor. We have been educated. I am personally enlightened. So Distinguished participants, please, can we appreciate and celebrate our second facilitator? I can't see your appreciation on the chat box. Please, please, please. The moderator has been having a network challenge. She has been coming on and off the Zoom platform. So moderator, if you are here now, kindly take the questions. Hello, moderator. Can you hear me? Okay, while we get that sorted, let me quickly register our profound gratitude. We will get to the question and answer segment soon. To our distinguished speakers, I believe that our participants have been enlightened. We have learned, and when we go into the question and answer segment now, we will be enlightened further, because I believe there will be practical questions or questions that will be born out of real life experiences, and we see how these things are applied in everyday situation and not just theoretical knowledge. Thank you. Dami, please, do we have questions from YouTube?
All right, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Apologies to everyone. I've been having serious network glitches, but yeah, I'm back right now. So, do we have any questions from our participants? If there are questions, you're free to ask your questions now. You can drop your questions in the chat box, and I believe our speakers will be ready to, attend to all our questions. So do we have questions from the first session and the second session? If you have your questions, kindly drop your questions. Thank you.
Okay, that may also confirm for our participants on YouTube platform.
Okay, there were a few
you have your
questions on
questions.
Zoom earlier. I don't know if you saw them. There were a couple of questions that I saw on Zoom much earlier. So,
the one I saw was asking whether they could have access to the slides. That's the question I saw earlier.
I will just keep scrolling, but there is none on Zoom for now. There's none on YouTube for now. So if I see any, I'll alert you in the next couple of minutes I will have.
Okay, we'll just give 2-3 minutes for that. While we wait for questions, let me seize this opportunity to also appreciate the participants. You see, these webinars hold because you participate. If you are not here, we'll just be talking to ourselves, maybe the speakers and the committee members. But we come here every month and we see you. To us, that's a demonstration of trust and belief in what we are doing, and we do not take that for granted for any reason. So I have seen persons from different branches. I have seen Ikeja, I have seen Uyo, I have seen different branches. We thank you and we urge you to keep faith with us. Our webinars hold monthly, and as our custom is, we usually announce the next topic. So in November, we'll be discussing health insurance and universal health coverage. Now, I am aware that the NBA has a health insurance scheme, but if I take a survey of how many of us here who have subscribed to that health insurance scheme of the NBA, you'll be shocked at the percentage we will have. And out of pocket payments for healthcare services is costly. So what we want to do next month is to educate our participants on the need to take advantage of the health insurance scheme. We will look at the provisions of the National Health Insurance Authority Act, and we see how we can educate ourselves and even get our world's relatives and dependents to subscribe such that they can have easy access to treatments at a cost, relatively less expensive cost. So that's what we'll be discussing next month. So I also want to appreciate members of this committee. Like I said,
Apologies, we have a question. I'm sorry to
okay,
cut you. So
no
we can take
problem.
yes.
Yes,
All right.
please.
Thank you. The question says, can the court, this question is from Oni Unwagu Stevenson. The question says, can the court disregard an autopsy result and find a different cause of death? So I believe any of our speakers can take this question. Thank you. Again, the question says, can the court disregard an autopsy result and find a different cause of death?
Yeah, maybe I can answer. Yes, it can be rejected by the courts when the evidence you are providing does not stand, logic. All right. So if there is reason to think that that report was fabricated, it was generated hurriedly and all that, the court has the right to reject such reports. All right. So, but if for it to be accepted, there are guidelines which Madam, clearly enunciated. So, in summary, it can be rejected when the quality of what you did, there's foul play, it doesn't add up to logic. What you are saying, it's not logical. Because there in our laws that it's not mandatory that expert opinion must be accepted, particularly when that expert opinion is against logic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for that.
Okay, can I just add? Can I
Okay.
just add? Okay. So just as
no, you can go ahead, ma.
okay. So just as Prof said, medical evidence or autopsy evidence, yeah, it is essential to read all those some of these law reports on pertaining to cause of death, murder, manslaughter. It is essential, but it is not mandatory. It is not mandatory because autopsy evidence or medical evidence is usually given by doctors and they are experts. And don't forget that the courts have been held over time. They are the gatekeeper to science, not even the experts. But those cases are reported, look at earlier cases, portraying such that the court is the gatekeeper to science. So, but if the cause of death is obvious, if it can be inferred, then you don't need medical evidence. The court can go right ahead and convict or exonerate or just decide to say they want to, they're not convicting the accused person. So that's it.
Thank you very, very much, ma. And the second question says, still from the same Mwangu Stevenson, does the state order an inquest into deaths of persons in police custody? The question says, does the state order an inquest into deaths of persons in police custody?
Yes, the state can do it. The state does so. That's why if you check the coroner's systems law, it talked about in custody deaths. That is deaths that you can find in correctional centers or in police stations. So, but that will be done through the office of the AG. If the family members of the deceased are complaining or they are aggrieved, then they can actually petition the state and they will order, the state will order an inquest to do so.
Just to add, ma, to that even if the family members don't complain, and there are reasons to suggest that the cause of death is unknown, it's really a mystery, like sudden death and all that, then that can be a reason why the state itself can actually order an inquest.
Okay, sir. You are right, sir. Next question.
Moderator, any other question, please?
I think our system is off again.
Okay. Let me just scan through.
Somebody's hand is raised. Emeka Wan-Dioke, if I'm correct.
Okay, Mr. Emeka, let me unmute you. Oh, sorry, excuse me.
Unmuted.
You can, you can proceed, Mr. Emeka.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Prof, and Your Honor, very cerebral legal lawyer, author. Now, I'm a trial lawyer, a defense lawyer, actually. So I've been involved in some cases, basically defilement cases. Now, there's an issue whereby, especially medical reports, are sent in, and theoretically, maybe you get the best results after 4 days of the incident. But you have reports that indicate that maybe after even 50 days, there's an issue or some positivity as regards defilement. So some of these reports begin to raise some curiosity, and the major challenge really is because the defendant is usually indigent, you may not get an expert to maybe do a contrary report or something like that can properly impeach this report. So the question really is, how does one then begin to, because you also realize that most courts will usually rely on these medical reports, So the question would be, how does one begin to impeach this report in the face of this kind of challenge? And especially those medical centers that run these reports, would there be a layer of maybe supervision and oversight that ensures that maybe innocent defendants don't get, convicted? Thank you.
Well, one way we can navigate that part is that for me, I don't even really attend to case of rape or defilement. What I do, I refer them to teaching hospitals. Because, you see, you are going to have challenges at private level, I can tell you that. But that's not for. But if you think that report is fabricated, it's not tied with actually what happened, yes, you must find other ways to impeach that report. Is the person that needs that evidence or that it will work against, that one way or the other, you as the lawyer will find a way to work it out to get a different report, as the case may be. Because I've also said, similar to the answer we gave, if the report again is against logic, it may not even be accepted in the first instance. And whereby it is tending towards fabricated report, you can find other ways to get other report that can impeach that particular report. Thank you. Our government hospitals are more likely to give you a correct report. In private hospitals, certain things can happen there. You may give somebody to generate a report, but in government hospital, that is hardly ever going to happen. That's the way so maybe my co-presenter can say a word on this.
Actually, I didn't get the question. I didn't get the question.
I think
Okay.
Can you paraphrase?
Okay, yeah, maybe you can rest. Yeah.
His question basically is where, for example, there's a case of rape and there is need to determine, to get reports. And the other parties, in an attempt, I want to believe he's for the defendant, the accused now, and the family of the victim, he feels that the report has been doctored. His question is, what could be done to maybe have a second opinion, get another report that will reflect the true position of things, and not just have the defendants roped in because someone has tampered with the reports?
I thought I mentioned about family requested autopsy. I'm not talking about second opinion.
Yes.
Yes, second opinion. So it is very important. If he's not satisfied with the one that he went through before, and he's not getting, he's thinking that maybe they will rope his old party in, it's better he gets his second opinion regarding that. And if I may remember, I think he said something has to do with somebody saying I'm just only particular about second opinion. That's just what I can say. Second opinion will do. And that can be raised anytime. That can be raised anytime.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. We have another question here. What do you do where a hospital is reluctant to comply to a request for inquest? What do you do where a hospital is reluctant to comply to a request for inquest?
I think you can enforce compliance by going through the court. And once the court has given you an instruction for you to issue an inquest and you refuse to do that, then of course that is contempt of court. I don't think there should be any problem with that. If you apply and they say, because we have said family members can request and they don't want to comply, you can go through the court. It may delay the process, but eventually justice will be obtained. So you can do that by requesting, go through the court to compare the hospital to allow for postmortem and all that and get the report.
This one says,
let my sister.
Okay, proceed, Your Honor. Proceed, ma.
Okay, I just want to say, sir, I think it can also, what about the efforts of the MDCN? Can't they do something here? Like if you write a petition to the MDCN and copies the office of the AG, we all know how the court process is here in Nigeria. So maybe one can also do that to see whether it can make him, the hospital, to sit up.
Comply. Yeah, well,
yes,
that's
comply.
Okay. Yeah, but you see, but again, people fear the court. Nobody want to go to jail. I'm sure if somebody is directed by the court to arrange for postmortem to be done, I think that they will comply. But again, it's a point that can be taken up by MDCN of regulation when those things happen. I agree. Thank you.
This one says, are there any circumstances that can invalidate autopsy reports? I know Prof has answered.
Similar to what you said before. Yeah.
Yes.
Similar to that question.
Well, if the autopsy report is incomprehensive, if it is conflicting, if there's a second opinion or a second pathologist involved and is bent on saying this is wrong, because there are some cases where they use even 3 or 4 pathologists. So if the majority seems to feel, no, this pathologist did not do a very good job, then the court can look into it and say, I think let's try it. So there are many areas like that. If there's also a particular situation where the prosecutor told the court that this is what killed the deceased. But by the time the autopsy report came out, it was saying another thing entirely. So the court will look into it, and if it's not okay, or if they might just say no. This kind of, there are many instances where pathologists have been sanctioned as well. Like they've not done a good job or a shoddy job. It's possible. So right. The court can invalidate the report if it's not. Absolutely. It's not up to standard. If it's not up to standard, they will invalidate it.
Thank you, ma. We have this one. What parts of the corpse can be used for autopsy?
Prof, that's Prof.
Answer that every part from SSO, from head to toe. You can open the skull, you can open the chest, open the abdomen. Ideally, every part for toxicology. If it's a case of poisoning, for example, you want to take from virtually every tissue in the body. So not just external, but external and internal organs are examined bit by bit. You examine them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dami, do we have any question from YouTube so that we close?
None, sir. None.
Esteemed participants, please, the attendance form or the link has been shared both here on Zoom and on the on the YouTube platform. Kindly fill it. And please, I want to appeal to you. Do not share this link to any WhatsApp platform. Please do not do that. You have taken the pains to be here. You are not even doing the persons to whom you are sending these links to feel any good. The primary purpose is to gain knowledge first before CPD. In fact, because of the abuse of the link, at the committee level, we are even considering of removing CPD from our webinars so that we target persons who are thirsty for knowledge. Anybody who wants to build capacity in medical law practice spectrum can attend our webinars and know that there is no CPD points attached. You are just coming to gain knowledge. We are not necessarily interested in the crowd for the purpose of CPD. So please, it is a passionate appeal from us. Just fill the form. Don't send the link to anybody. We are honorable people as lawyers, and we believe we will comply with this appeal. Thank you very much. Okay, in the absence of any other question, on behalf of the chairman of the Garki branch of the NBA, as a committee, we want to collectively register our profound and esteemed gratitude to our facilitators. Participants, you can attest to the fact that what you have heard is not just textbook knowledge. These are seasoned practitioners that have shared from their wealth of experience. We really cannot thank you enough. And I think we should begin to attach a monetary value to our webinars. By that, I mean, if you were to attend a paid session for this, you will have to pay sometime in dollars. So please, participants, once again, help me thank our erudite presenters. We are grateful, Professor Sime. We are grateful, Madam Oluwatomi. We are most grateful. And we want to believe that this will not be the last you'll be on this our platform. Next year, we continue for this year, our calendar is scheduled to December. We already have topic and speaker for December. That will be announced in November. So January, in fact, the truth is we have up to February next year, topic and speakers. So, but within the year 2026, hopefully, God willing, our paths will cross again, and we will have you either jointly or independently as guest speakers on our platform. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, ma. And to you, our esteemed participants, we cannot be here without you. As I have said earlier, we are grateful. It will be in videos to begin to mention names. I wouldn't want to go into that, but I'm aware that there are members of the bench here. Thank you, your lordships. Thank you, your worships. I see you. There might be a few learned senior advocates here. Learned Saints, we thank you for your time and for your patience. And of course, to my amazing committee members, I am always proud of you. You know, I say it whenever I have the opportunity. We can't be doing this without your support. Thank you. And for those who missed out on our earlier announcements, November, we will be discussing universal health coverage and health insurance. The publicity, the flyer will be out very soon. This one, the flyer came out a bit late, but that will not happen. Usually by second week of the month, our flyer for the next topic and dates will be out. So just follow us. Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening and night rest. God bless you.
Thank you, Ebenezer. God bless you.
Thank you,
Prof.
Prof. Take care. Prof, thank you, sir.
Well, thank you,
Ebenezer, nice to see you. Yeah.
Thank you, Honor. Thank you.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. So we'll keep the link open. We'll keep
the form will be the link will be open for the next 5 minutes to enable you fill your attendance forms, and we will shut it down. Amaka, I saw you on YouTube. Victoria Ugu, I saw you here. Madam Nkiru, I saw you. You are still here. Thank you. Dedem Obi Anwonye, thank you, sir, for your support. Thank you, sir. Barrister Nesi, thank you. Amarachuku, Dr. Amarachuku Zetulugo. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, everyone. I saw Timothy Ojo, Taiwo Ojo. Taiwo Ojo went through, Oga Taiwo went through our training in medical and health law on a different platform, and he was inducted sometime this year. Congratulations once again, Mr. Taiwo. Thank you very much for your time. I'm signing out. Please endeavor to fill the form. Endeavor to fill the form. Mr. Emeka Nwadioke, thank you for that brilliant question. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Omar Suleiman, thank you, Mr. Omar. Madam Lorita, thank you very much. Long time. Thanks for your participation. Okay, the video is on our YouTube channel in case you want to listen. In fact, all the webinars, the previous webinars, they're on our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, type Nba-Garki branch, then you can listen to any of our webinars. We have done on organ donation and trafficking, organ donation, organ trafficking, and organ harvesting. We have discussed strengthening health policy, the role of lawyers. We have discussed understanding patients' rights. All of them are there. We have discussed on surrogacy. So anytime you can, even this one is recorded and is there on YouTube. So you can just go back, listen and listen over and over and build your capacity in this area of practice.